I'm never good about this with the sound effect thing, but it would be so great if I could give you like a round of applause. We're so happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you, Tracy and Don. So this is exciting. My first time on the happy hour, so I'm going to be learning just as everybody else is here.
Well, one of the reasons why we're excited to have you is Dawn and I teach, a big part of what we teach, and if you're watching us, you've heard us say, or if you watched our back episodes, you've heard us say a bunch of times, it's, number one, you got to grow your audience. Once you start growing your audience, you can convert that audience into leads. Once you start getting leads, then you can start turning those into sales, recruiting team members, selling product, and things like that. What we hardly ever, in fact, we've never talked about it, is what do you do once you have a team? And so I'm excited, Nancy, because I know you use social media to grow your business, but you also use it to nurture your business. And I don't think you'd be at the level of income that you're at with your company if you didn't nurture your team. So I'm super excited for everybody to hear from you today, and we're just honored you take some time out of your day. I know you and Don have been hanging out and having fun, so I'm so happy you can come and join us.
We have been having a great time, have we not? I'm going to pull her over to the middle because it's like, I want to give her the stage a little more, and we're kind of squished in at
all right, awesome.
So I would love to share. Do you want me to just get going with that?
Yeah, well, give us an idea. I mean, since this is a social media marketing happy hour, I know Don and I will have, questions and stuff for you, and I just want to encourage our audience, people watching, if you're with us live, and if you have a burning question, I know we're kind of, this is a new format for a lot of you guys, but if you have a question for somebody who's a leader, because here's what I really want you guys to focus on. For you to be successful, you're gonna have a team. You're just gonna have a team. And how do you handle that team? And what do you do? And so there's nothing better than to learn from someone who's done it and doing it. So if you have questions for Nancy, you can throw them in the chat, and Dawn and I will monitor the chat before we get going. But Nancy, we're super excited. So this is just social media marketing happy hour. So we'd love to hear, your thoughts, how you use social media, how you use it to grow, to build and to nurture what you're doing.
Absolutely. So just for everyone who social media is kind of new, I mean, I remember a time where, friends would add me on Facebook, and I'm like, I didn't know them in high school, so I'm not sure why I would be adding them now. And interestingly enough, as you become a network marketer, those relationships become more and more important. And so growing your audience is really important. And what I've learned over the last couple of years is to really add everybody that I know and that I meet on a daily basis, no matter where I am, to Facebook. So I was at a resort at a spa a couple of days ago, met some beautiful, ladies who were just amazing personalities. And I'm like, are you guys on Facebook? And they're like, yeah. And so right away I add them. So regardless of whether I have that opportunity to talk to them that day or that time about what we have to offer, or our business or our products, regardless of what that is, they're going to see my post eventually, and they're going to learn a little bit more about me, and I'm going to get to learn more about them. So using social media to really grow your audience all the time. Absolutely. And get to that point where now, all of a sudden, because you're sharing something or they're seeing something on your Facebook, they're asking you questions and they want more information, which is a beautiful thing. And so from that, I mean, I have a pretty large team. I'm blessed. So, when you have over 10,000 people on your team, you absolutely need to know how to work with that. And that can be really challenging because some people are in your area, some people are out of area, some people are in your country and out of country. And we have found Facebook to be amazing. So what we have done is we have customer-based groups where whatever product or service you're selling, you can nurture that and share information about what you have, so that you can increase retention, you can increase services that you're offering. We also have business groups, and so anyone who is interested in building a business or making an income, regardless of whether it's $200 a month or $500 a month or $5,000 a month, we have a business group, and I call it kind of like a mastermind group. That's where I am able to share, events that are coming up, information sessions that are coming up, recognize people, because recognition is so important. So to be able to recognize people moving up ranks, just having success stories, and we utilize that, but what you're also doing is you're also creating a community of people that are supporting each other, right?
So there was something interesting you said there, Nancy. Did I want to?
Yeah, absolutely.
You said that.
You still in here?
Yeah, I think so. Hey guys, Nancy mentioned.
You guys are there. You're good.
Okay, cool. Nancy mentioned that she has two groups. One for customers. So if you're in a company that has products and services that they sell, you often have a customer base, and you also have a team of people who are doing business. So talk a little bit about why you separate the two.
I separate the two. I mean, I think it just really makes sense because if you have consumers, you really want to focus on your product or your service and be able to share the benefits of what that is. What I love about our group is that not only am I answering questions, because as a leader, you don't have the time to answer every single question that comes up. And so when you have a group of 10 people, 200 people, 500 people, people can ask questions about your products or services, and other people can help support them and answer those questions so they get immediate responses. And we're so used to, in this day and age, to get an immediate response to our questions. And so now you also have people who are sharing how they're using the products or services. And so other people are like, oh, I didn't think of that, or I didn't realize I could do that. And so again, you're just able to really inform people, provide people a better service. And so I think that's really important for your consumers. And then for your business builders, sorry, Tracy, did you have a question?
It's just, I really want to highlight a couple of things before you move on to the business side, because sometimes what I have found, right, I found that sometimes people they subconsciously sabotage their business because they're afraid of success, right? And some of that success is the time demand. And so one of the nuggets Nancy just pulled out is that as you grow a large team, it doesn't have to be all about you. And Nancy, I really like how you have that set up, because now, you're getting to leverage other people, you're getting to, raise up other leaders and other people's experiences. I mean, we're just talking about on the consumer side right now, but that's a huge success nugget right there.
Absolutely. A huge success nugget. I think about, often in network marketing, you'll end up with one person who's the kind of the main person who does the teaching. And really, when you're leveraging your team, and what I've seen you do that has been really effective is that you really
Oop, we lost you guys. We lost them. Okay, they'll be back in just a second. So I feel like, when this happens, I need to put on tap shoes and start playing in the background.
What's that?
Oh, we lost you. You totally froze up for a few minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start tap dancing. It's
And I think one of the things Dawn was saying there is, and I'll just elaborate on that, is, especially when people are new to the team, I want to help out as much as possible because, they might have a full-time job, they might be, having, 4 kids at home, and they're busy. So how could I help them and support their business? And so having a community group where we can all put our consumers in to support each other is great. Now, that being said, I do have leaders who step up and then start creating their own community groups, which is awesome, because that, as a leader, is exactly what I want to happen. Because now they create their own groups where now they're developing that community and that support for their consumers. And so, but it allows them to do that at their pace, when they're ready and when they have more time, which is really what we want to do as leaders to set up our team successfully.
Yeah, one of the things Dawn and I did, Nancy, and I don't know if Dawn even mentioned this to you, but I learned this from one of my mentors with setting up our mastermind group, is we actually created expectations, because you said something that, it's up to the individual, right? I think it's up to the leader as they grow, but a lot of times, people don't think to set boundaries. And so Dawn and I have a mastermind group for the inner circle of the social media marketing happy hour, and we are committed to being in there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But we're in it all the time. We just make that commitment. Like, if you send us a message at midnight on Saturday, there's a good chance we won't respond to it until Tuesday. So it creates boundaries so that you're not overwhelmed growing a really big team or group or whatever the case might be. What do you think about? Because you've got a large team. How many? Do you have any idea, Nancy, how large your team is?
I'm up just over 14,000 people on my team.
Whoa!
We have an incredible this chair. How's that?
Yeah, is that better, Tracy?
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Nancy, you started to talk about, so you talked about you separate your consumers, which I think is a fantastic idea, right? Sometimes we're so focused on building a team that we forget that our customers, I don't know if I've shared it on the happy hour before or not, Don, but there's a business, a company Don and I were in together. We weren't business partners back then, but we both were in the same company at the same time. We've been gone for several years. I still get a residual check every month from them. It's crazy because of customers, just because of those beautiful, wonderful customers. It's an awesome thing. So I love that you're talking about nurturing that. But now let's talk about what do you do with a team? How do you use social media to nurture your team?
Well, what I love about, Facebook groups, definitely is that you can, have conversations with people and everyone is learning. And so we know that our business is about duplication, right? So if you're having a conversation with one of your leaders and answering questions, well, there's no doubt that there's somebody else that has that same question. And so doing it on the phone or doing it through email, everyone else is losing out on that knowledge and that experience. And so what I love about Facebook is that, you're able to ask questions in there and so that people can answer, so you really get buy-in from everybody. Everybody feels involved. And what Dawn touched on is, our goal is to raise our leadership level, in terms of the entire team. So you're helping them develop at the same time. It's the easiest way for me to keep everyone up to date at a live time, basically, without having a million emails coming through my inbox type of thing. And so we will share, events that are coming up. We will share, whether we're doing webinars or something like a happy hour, those types of things. We share that on that group. And again, some of those, my leaders have their own team business groups. So they're in my group and they just pass along the information that's in mine into their team group. So as those leaders start to branch off and develop their own leadership groups, then they can do that. But again, we're all keeping each other informed, which is a beautiful thing. And I'm in a position now where they're often posting stuff and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So, and that's a great thing when you can start taking and sharing and learning from your own leaders, right? Because we're all learning from each other and we're all growing into this business together. So those are the types of things that I have in my group. I'm trying to think. We do recognition, which is huge. So every week we're recognizing, the top leaders in the group, the top sales volume, whatever that is for your team. And so we're always trying to recognize people, and so that the whole team gets to cheer them on and support them.
Okay, so
Oh, go ahead.
this kind of leads in really nicely to the secret. So we should probably leave the secret until the end. But this woman, I've been hanging out with her for the last 3 days, and I see things pop up on Facebook, and I'm like, are you really posting that, or is it your Hootsuite account? Because she uses social media automation like we do, because she doesn't want to be posting all the time, but she's often sharing really cool content, and I'm sitting right beside her, and I have no idea how she pulled it off, because I'm like, wait a minute, did you really do that? Because I'm right here.
We love automation. If you guys, there's some really great tools. I've been testing some tools. Actually, Dawn found some tools I've been testing. I love automation. It just might take me like a day to get it all set up, and then boom, we're done. So I definitely want to hear about Nancy's automation. But I have just a quick question before we get into her secret.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 14,000 team members. It's just like, I can't. That's amazing. That's incredible. So if I'm an up and coming leader, okay, if I have a little baby team, Nancy, at what point do you recommend, or in your experience, do you see it makes sense for somebody to branch off and start their own leadership group?
Do you know what? For me, I think that's a tough one, because I don't know that a certain rank or leadership level, type of thing necessarily means you're a leader. So I think there's a lot of variables in there. So it depends, how much time somebody has, because someone can be an incredible leader, but they're working full time, and they have kids at home, or they have other activities that they're doing, so they might not have the time to do it. Other people might want to start doing it earlier than maybe even than maybe I would recommend, but that's not for me to say, because I'm not their boss, right? I am hopefully a mentor. I can offer guidance. But really, it's when you think you're ready. So, you start to see that, you know what, you want to be able to support your team and you're going to stay involved in the mastermind group so that you know that you're, like the main thing is to make sure that your team is getting all the information that they need in a timely manner. So if that's something that you can do and also brand yourself, and I know you guys talk a lot about that, you know, then absolutely go for it. But I just don't want people to rush it. So I don't want them to feel that they have to do it sooner than they feel that they're ready to do it.
And have you seen that happen? Where people go and then what happens if they're not ready? What do you see?
You'll see that, you know what, their teams they're not going to get a lot of buy-in into their group because if they're not active in there, if they're not committed, and like you were saying, you know, being involved in there, you know, consistently, where they know they're going to be, you know, getting the information on a timely manner, and then you're also wanting to provide value, just like you guys are doing on this call. You're providing value, right? So they need to feel that they're getting value. So if it's a group where they're the only ones posting, then you know what, maybe it wasn't the right time, and or they can, you know, try to maybe get some suggestions on how they can get more buy-in in that group and keep it, because you want it to be interactive. You want other people posting, sharing, and so forth. And so you really have to decide that for yourself, but great idea is to talk to your mentor, your leader, and just find out, you know, this is what I'm thinking, you know, do you think it would be a good time, and go for it.
Yeah, and I think too sometimes, you know, most people don't get into a home business for a job, and if it feels like it's a job and it's not, you know, it's not pleasant. But also too, have you seen people like go into management mode where they're just managing and not growing their business?
Very, very good point. Absolutely. And it's a tough one, you know, because I'm someone who likes to do all that stuff and manage, right? So you have to also make sure you're always doing income producing activities. And so that's something, you know, it's a really, really good point, because I often see people, they want to take courses, they want to, you know, start their own groups, they want to do a cleanse group, and I'm like, guys, like I am doing this, and you know, I'm available, I do this full time, you know, my husband's, you know, partnering with me, so he's doing it full time, I have an assistant, so we're able to manage this and, you know, be in there every single day and make sure that your team is getting the value. So, you know, I will often, you know, try to make sure that people don't jump the gun, right? Because like you said, if you only have 2 hours a day, or if you have 10 hours a week, you don't want to spend that doing something if somebody's already doing it within your team and has that expertise.
Well, I think, you know, you said it really well. You said it's always a great idea to talk to your mentor or your leader, because there's a fine line. You know, there's a fine line for people to, you know, we talked about it. In fact, I'm wondering if it was today's happy hour, the Fake It Till You Make It, our podcast today. Sometimes it's like, which one did we do today? You know, definitely it's important, you know, when you're first getting started out, until you really have some legs underneath you to utilize the strength of your leaders, your upline, your sponsors. But at the same time, you're in business for yourself, so you've got to take it seriously. But I thought that was great advice, Nancy. Like, it is important. Talk to, you know, your leader, your mentor, and your leader, your mentor, you might have somebody outside of your business. You know, so I know for me, when I first got into network marketing, I did not have a strong sponsor. They were like terrible, super nice person, but like had no clue about business. And so I sought out mentors and leaders in other places. And so I think that's great, Nancy, because sometimes we need that second opinion. That's why we have masterminds, right? To get someone else's input.
Well, and we don't want to have to spend a month, you know, learning something that we can learn in days, right? So it's something that I advocate all the time, you know, go to the experts. And the expert's not necessarily someone who, you know, you have to go find online. They can be within your own team. And that's the most important thing within your team, is finding out what people's strengths are and using those. So if someone's really great at flyers, you know, have them do the flyers for the team. Someone's really great at, you know, using social media, have them do a call, you know, so that they can share their expertise. I know myself, I've learned so much, you know, when you talk about automation, I've learned that from Dawn. You know, I didn't learn it from anyone else but her. And so, you know, you have people within your own team, you have, you know, whether it's cross-line, you know, up-line, down-line, you know, just outside of what you're doing, absolutely. I think that it's brilliant, because no one should be trying to learn everything on their own and from scratch, because, you know, you're going to spend so much time trying to develop when, you know what, you could just be launching your business right away, doing the things that you need to do, and having other people help you do the other stuff.
Awesome. So what about, Nancy, something that just kind of popped into my head that we haven't even talked about is using social media. There is a tendency for people when they're marketing online to get distracted because everybody's marketing, everybody's selling something. And so how do you keep your team together? How do you battle that constant bombardment of
shiny object syndrome?
Shiny object syndrome.
So you're meaning just keeping, the team, the community together outside of social media or within social media?
Well, within social media, because they're being exposed to so many messages, right?
Yeah.
So there's how many hundreds of network marketing companies, and there's other opportunities and affiliate programs, but you've done a really good job at keeping your team together through the years. You've got had a pretty solid team. So how do you...
for me, it's really about building community, and I think especially as women, that's something that we do brilliantly. I played on teams growing up, so if anyone is an athlete that played on the team, the whole idea is working together and building a community. So I often, if your company has an event, I would get people there earlier so that, there's time being spent together, trying to get people connecting. But even when we talk about these groups, you're linking people together that have common ground, that have common skills. And so now all these conversations are going on outside of what I am doing and outside of me, which is awesome, which is what you want. Because the reality is this business is not easy. We know it's a lot of hard work and it's worth it. But those relationships often are what are going to keep you in the game. And so being positive in the groups is really important. Don't let negativity. So as a leader, you're going to want to make sure that there are certain guidelines, that are being followed. We don't encourage. We won't allow any negativity. We won't let anyone just kind of bring the group down. We want to be positive. We want to be supportive. Recognition, sharing people's success, and that in itself will just bring your company up, right? Bring your business up just by virtue of people seeing other people's success gets them excited, gets them inspired. And so that's where the recognition in terms of your groups is really, really important, because people need to see people moving up and being successful. And that looks different for everybody. That could be $100 a month can change somebody's life. And for somebody else, it's, that product has changed their life, or that service has made something really easy for them. And all of those things and sharing those things are going to bring community together, which inevitably for me, I think is what keeps people loyal and keeps people together. And that's what's going to get you through the tougher times.
Yeah, that is a challenge. That's a really big challenge. I joked, I think when Nancy, I first met you and I found out that, you'd never done another network marketing company, I was like, really? It's just, I know for me, when I first started back, what year was it, 2004, I swore that was going to be it for me. I was never going to do anything else. And then I quickly realized that, well, not quickly, it took me about 5 years to realize that it was a bad match. And then there have been several companies throughout the last few years, and some changes have been out of my control, some things just wasn't a good fit. So, it's really incredible to see that you can create a good, solid foundation in spite of the 8,000 get rich quick. Really, there's legitimately get rich quick schemes that are not MLM, but we all get confused, and it's challenging. So, it's just amazing to me.
And I don't know, really, there's a couple of different things. Obviously, I consider myself very fortunate to be with the company that I'm with. And so that's one thing, but also, sticking to something, long enough that you are able to develop the skills, change your mindset, going from employee to entrepreneur, which many of us were, including myself. It took me 2 years to even realize there was a business opportunity, right? So everyone, has to grow, and so there's a lot of personal development that comes in. So sometimes if your business isn't growing as fast as you want it to be, you really just want to look inside yourself and feel like, okay, am I doing the personal development? Am I really coachable? Am I listening to what my mentors and my leaders, are coaching me? Am I working my business, right, as opposed to being in management mode and all those things? So, of course, there's some bad companies out there, and some of us get unlucky, and I just consider myself very lucky, but also very hardworking and consistent, and I think that's really played a large part in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, very consistent. So let's talk about consistency. Let's talk about some of the things that you do to keep things consistent, even when you can't. Let's talk about your life right now, what you're doing, and how you can manage to stay so consistent in social media when you're doing what you're doing.
Okay, and that's probably my Don and I talked about this, like, nobody wants to be handcuffed to their computer at all. So
there is nobody less handcuffed than this chick right here. Like, when you hear what she's doing right now, I'll let you tell it.
All right, so my husband retired from the military after 20 years on May 20th. And right away we were like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, we want to do something big. And we had a couple of events and things that were happening on the West Coast. So we're like, you know what, let's do a trip. And so my husband is actually circumnavigating North America. He left mid-July on his motorbike from Ottawa, Canada, which is kind of above New York State, for those of you, in the U.S., might not know where that is, on the East Coast, drove across, the country, where I flew to meet him. So I'm doing a month-and-a-half trip. I'm visiting Kelowna, Whistler, Vancouver, San Diego, here in Carlsbad with Dawn, which I'm super excited about, back to San Diego, and Jeffrey is driving to all these locations, so I am just meeting him along the way, which is just absolutely amazing. So he is in California now. We'll probably be in Carlsbad tomorrow, which is awesome. And for him, this is literally, he's calling it his Freedom Ride. So it's Freedom Ride in 2014. This is the first time in his life in 20 years that he's had complete control over his own day.
I have bumps, like, literally, I have bumps, like, all the way down to my toes. That's such a cool thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but, like, I was like, whoa!
He does. He's had a career, and he's loved his career. I mean, Special Forces, he's been able to do some of the most crazy stuff. But, someone's telling you when to go to work and when you're leaving your family and for how long and when you're going to the bathroom, like, all of that, right? So he is having the time of his life. I talked to him, and, it's like, I've never had so more bendy turns. He's on his motorbike. So I've never been on so many bendy turns in my entire life. So he is super excited. I am loving absolutely every moment of this. So we're actually looking at moving to the West Coast. So we're looking at areas and properties because we're no longer tied to Ottawa. And, for us that have chosen to do network marketing, we can truly build a business anywhere, right? So as long as you have your phone, your laptop, you can build it anywhere. And so, where do we want to live? And we're dirt bikers and mountain bikers and snowboarders, so we want to be close to the mountains.
Tracy, you guys would go on.
Well, we said Colorado. I was like, I love Colorado. So, you know what? You might be getting a visit at some point.
Hold it all, Nancy. Come on out anytime. Come on out.
So the one thing that, knowing that we were going to do this trip, we wanted to prepare ourselves so that we could still connect with our team. I mean, we have, for our company, our biggest event is coming up in a week, so I needed to stay plugged in and available. And so what we started doing is webinars so that we could, access, our teams, and, prospects, all of that kind of stuff from anywhere, that kind of stuff. Hootsuite, obviously, which I've learned from Dawn, as a tool to be able to put together, my posts for the week. So I usually do them 2 weeks at a time. So at least I know that there's some consistency. My team and the people on my Facebook are seeing consistency. They're seeing me posting something every day. And then as well, I'm obviously posting, my adventures, where I am, and pictures of my toes on the beach, and, me and Dawn by the pool, and all that kind of stuff. So it's been phenomenal. And if you'd asked me 7 years ago if this would be what my life would be like, I would have said, you're crazy. You're crazy.
You're using webinars. Let's talk a little bit about the webinars, because obviously happy hour is a webinar. Like, we do this twice a week, and John and I are constantly encouraging people to use the power of video because it's such a big deal. So, can you share with everybody a little bit more? How are you using it more specifically while you're on this awesome adventure?
Yeah, so, there's something new for me. So it took me probably about 6 years to start using webinars, doing more video, that kind of stuff. So no matter where you're at now, you can do it. We are doing, basically what we're doing is kind of a proposal webinar. So we're just really sharing what our opportunity is. So what's great is because Jeffrey could be in one country and I'm in another, is to be able to both be able to get together and do that at the same time. Have people see us in our location, but then using a PowerPoint and just really sharing, our vision for what we have to offer and what we have, as an industry. But it's really cool because we can both do it from anywhere, and our team knows that every week, consistently we have something going on. But you know, over the last 2 weeks, our locations are a little bit all over the place, and so we're actually putting a recording, right? So that's the beautiful thing with the webinars is that you can be live, but you know, if you cannot make it for any reason, you can have a recording, but the information is always available to your teams, and they're your team's team, so it's just really important, regardless of where you are, your team, you know, some of your team is like building strong at that moment, and I mean, we all are, but you always want to be available to them, and I just thought it was such a great tool. We got really, really excited when we thought, you know what, we can share what we're doing from anywhere, and I think it's even more inspiring that we're doing it while we're traveling.
Heck yeah. If that inspires you guys, leave it in the comments, because I know every one of you have something would love to do. Like, obviously for me and Nancy, we you know, we like the mountains and that kind of stuff, and John likes your toes in the sand, and so I mean that's just so encouraging. So if that's encouraging to you guys, then definitely put it in the comments. I know Nancy will love to see that, because it's just, you know, so you guys are also using, you're doing live webinars, but also using well, I guess we call it evergreen recordings, like meaning you recorded it and then it's playing kind of automatically. Is that what you're doing?
Right now, Dawn is going to teach me all about what you guys are doing. So let's just say, no, I'm not the techie. So right now, I've recorded one of my webinars, so I'm making that link available to them so that they can share it. So I don't have it set up where it's live at that time, but we want to be able to do that. Absolutely want to be able to do that. So I'm going to go to someone who's an expert and get that knowledge and start implementing it for our team, because what's beautiful is I'm doing the webinars, but we have team members that are doing the webinars, right? So once again, your team is going to do what you're doing. Just imagine if you can access all of these people, well, your team can do the same thing. So some of those leaders are now doing their own webinars. Like, we do fundamentals training for our business as well, and I do like a 6-week series, and I do it through webinar format. We used to do it on conference calls, and it's completely different, you know, to be able to do it as a webinar where people can see you, people can interact, but also people can, you know, have that PowerPoint or, you know, that information scrolling in front of them, because people learn differently. Some people need to hear it, some people need to see it, but I just think it's phenomenal, and it's really changed how we're doing our business now. Like, we want to do more and more of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, technology. Don and I knew early on that there's not a lot of people in traditional old school marketing teaching what we're doing, but we also know that there's a lot of freedom when you can combine the two. So it's really cool to hear, like, that's a piece of your story, Nancy, is you guys are at a really neat stage in your business, because I mean, you guys are financially rock solid. Your husband has his freedom, and now it's like your business is probably going to skyrocket, but yet do you want it to skyrocket at the expense of this freedom that you've been waiting for all these years? So it's cool. Like, it's really cool for me too to hear you say that that's what you're doing, because that's just awesome.
Yeah, so there's another little cool side to this story. Nancy, for a long time, I would just say, well, I know this a little bit of background, but for a long time, you were building mostly with women. But your avatar, your target market, has changed a little bit. So
wait. Nancy has an avatar?
Nancy,
we taught that. In fact, we have a course. We have an avatar course that is amazing. Okay, cool.
You guys are amazing, and what you're teaching is amazing. So I'm so excited for everyone that's plugging in right now, because a lot of that stuff, I just didn't know it. And, you know, Dawn has been picking at me and being like, okay, you know what, Nancy, like, you really need to brand yourself. And what you and Jeffrey are doing is amazing, and people are going to be attracted to that. So, you know, decide who your target market is. And certainly when I started my business, Jeffrey was, you know, his military career was at its peak. I mean, 9/11 had happened. He was away a lot, and so it was basically my business. And so a lot of the people that I attracted into my businesses were people that I played sports with, and I went to school with, and that I was hanging out with. And so it was a lot of women. And, you know, network marketing traditionally is, you know, over 80% women. But as it's grown, what we've seen is now that we're building this together, and he's been more involved, and he's coming to events, we're really excited to build this together. And what we've realized over time is that most of our team is military. And, you know, I'm a military brat, and most of you have heard that term before. Jeffrey's a military brat. He's spent 20 years. His brother has spent 26 years. And so for us, what we've realized is, and if I can mean, a pension in terms of military, after 20 years is not a lot of money. It's less than $30,000 a year.
Okay, well, let's stop. Let's stop emphasizing that. That's rough.
Horrible.
That's rough. Like a person hasn't saved any money.
Yeah.
And doesn't have a plan B. Doesn't know about business. Like, guys, we know what's up. We know how to create this plan B. $30,000 a year, less than $30,000 a year, is not a lot to live on.
And for someone that's served their country, I'd like to thank you for serving our country, but I'm an American. But thank you for serving, my mom's country. So that's just crazy. That's just crazy.
Well, and I remember when I, finally resigned from my corporate career as an accountant at the university. We had a pension, and so at 39 years old, people are like, "You're gonna leave a job with a pension?" And I'm like, "I'm 39 years old. Like, you want me to stay at a job that it's okay, but I'm not excited about, and it's definitely not going to pay me what I'm able to create in terms of wealth with this business model for 49, 20 years minimum. Most people don't retire before 65 now, and so, but I think people think their pension is more than what it really is worth. And so for Jeffrey, he is so passionate about sharing this with our military families because, you know what, no family can live on $30,000 a year. And, where he works, they're accustomed to making, more than a six-figure income. And so they have a certain lifestyle. And so what we want to be able to help them is to create that plan B, and so to be able to do that within 1 to 5 years. Like we always say, 3 to 5 years, you need to commit to your business, and you will be able to not only replace your income, but now create a significant amount of income so that you and your family are financially free. There's a lot of wives in a lot of cases haven't been able to keep their careers because they're moving every 4 years, and they're helping raise the family. And so we, I guess that's really become our passion, is to, serve other military families by helping them develop, whether it's just some extra income now, but also looking at creating their plan B so that they can retire or that they can get out at 20 instead of 25, 35 years. But also, they're looking at the lifestyle, we're leading, and what we're doing, and they're like, yeah, we want in, right? And so I find it super exciting because it's changed the dynamics. I love women, and it's been an amazing ride, but now we're helping, the families, and that's really cool.
So Nancy, I'm curious because Don and I have taught extensively when we talk about, our avatar training, which if you haven't gone through our avatar training, there should be a button beneath this video where you can click on the link and you can get access to our avatar training. It's 3 hours of literally business changing training. Like literally, anybody that's in our inner circle that's gone through our avatar training can chime in right now and tell you that it has changed the course of their marketing, of everything they do, but it's also included in our inner circle. So if you, if that's what you need, mentoring in that way, then do our inner circle for sure, and then you'll get the avatar training. Little commercial, little shameless plug, I can't help myself, but right, here's what I really
I want in the inner circle, I'm going to click on that.
Our inner circle, man, the stuff we're doing for these guys, I'm just so excited for them because they're getting this at a whole new level, and I know you get it, Nancy, because you and Don have been friends for a long time, and anyhow, here's really what I really wanted to ask you is, so often, one of the things that I crack up about in network marketing is we get so excited about our company and our product, and we think everybody's a prospect, and so because we're shooting at everybody, we shoot at nobody. How do you feel having an avatar, having this, this specific, these military families, how has that, what's the right word? I don't want to ask you a leading question because that doesn't make me a good interviewer, but how has that impacted? Do you see the difference in people that have a clear-cut target versus those that are trying to get anybody and everybody?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? Over time, it's taken me a while to figure that one out, and I guess, I've seen the team evolve that way as well. But unless you're clear on what you're looking for, you're not going to find it, right? You don't even know what that looks like, and you're going to waste a lot of time with the wrong kind of people. And I always say, you know what? You want to be around people that are like you, or that, or have the same passion as you, or that are just excited about life like you are. So you really want to be clear on what that is. And once you are, then it's just so much easier when you're talking to people to be like, and I say this all the time, you have skills, and you have such great energy and, personality. You have what I'm looking for. right? And they'll be like, well, what's that? And I go, let's send you some information, right? But, I'm learning through my mentors, and we hear it all the time. You always have to put what you're looking for out to the universe. And, whatever that is for you, we have to constantly put it out there. And so me being able to say, what we're looking for military families and to help, free military families so that they, can, be able to live their lives, on their own terms. We have more military families coming to us. Of course, that is just the universe that works in its magic ways. And so, absolutely. And then our women, we're seeing groups that are, looking to create more six-figure income earners, than any other team, or people that are athletes who want to, partner with athletes and help them take their performance to the next level. So whatever it is for you, it helps. Absolutely.
Isn't it interesting too when you talk about it in your messaging? When you speak to a military family and you say, I am passionate about helping military families because I identify with that, and these are the problems that I know you face, and this is how I'm going to solve them, right? It's the same thing with athletes. When athletes start wanting to attract other athletes to help them take their training and performance to the next level. So you're telling people how you're going to solve problems that they have and give them a solution, rather than just being like, I have this amazing product line, everybody needs to take it. We've talked about that before. That just a blanket approach is like a watered down, what do you call it, Tracy? Milk toast?
Milk toast, yeah. I usually am referring to bad pastors, but that's another story for another time. Like, bleh. Like, there's just, like, you just are missing everything.
Yeah, you can't appeal to them. If you can't get involved in the conversation that person is having in their own mind on a daily basis, it's hard to sell them something.
And I'm sure you guys teach on attraction marketing, right? So it's all about what you put out there, you're going to attract. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's brilliant. And so definitely, if you haven't clicked on that link yet, allow me to get on that.
Wow, thank you, Nancy. Absolutely. We haven't even got to, I know we promised Nancy's ninja trick. Dawn told me today, and I was like, shut up, I love that. So before we ask Nancy to kind of share her brilliant strategy of using social media as a tool, I just want to encourage you guys, if you have any questions, you have a woman on this panel today that has made over $1 million with the same company, has a team of, you said, over 14,000 people? That is, like, seriously badass. Like, that is just awesome. So you have an opportunity to ask a question. For those of you that are watching the recording, this is why you need to come live every Tuesday, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern. So write your questions in the chat. We'll ask Nancy. Nancy, I already had somebody ask for your Twitter handle, but you're going to have people following you on Twitter. We teach hardcore Facebook, hardcore Twitter on this group. So if you have questions for Nancy, go ahead, put it in the chat, and we'll make sure we stay on until all your questions are answered. So,
hey, Nancy has said that she would answer questions, which is actually really cool that she would hang out with us and answer questions. Now, before we get to Nancy's tip, we have to talk about something that's happening this week, Tracy. Holy moly, we haven't even talked about it on Happy Hour.
Are we really going to tell everybody?
We're going to tell everybody. Come on.
What? Okay, so would you guys think it's bizarre that Dawn and I have actually never met in person? Like, we were in the same room together once, but we really have never met. Isn't that the craziest thing ever?
It's kind of crazy. I think I spend more time with you, Tracy, than anybody else.
Yeah, and it's very true. Like, at first I thought, like, this whole relationship between Dawn and I was going to, like, make my best friend jealous and all these people. And everybody just knows that Dawn and I, that our relationship is a divine appointment. Like, truly, this has just been one of the greatest blessings in my life. And we do spend a ridiculous amount of time together. But we've never met in person. So, Dawn.
So, Tracy.
All of that changes, you guys, because tomorrow, first of all, I have to just give a huge shout out to my incredible husband, who and to Dawn's too, because he's got to put up with stuff as well. But my husband Rick, we have so much going on here in Colorado, and yet I am getting my little butt on an airplane tomorrow, and I am going to San Diego.
Very fun and awesome. I'm so pumped. Like, I have goosebumps that you just said that. Like, she's going tomorrow.
So there's so many things. Like, Dawn and I have, it's overdue. Like, if you've been following us from the beginning, like, all of our branding and our pictures are basically, like, ahead headshot of me and a headshot of Don that I put into Canva, and I made an image. Like, it's so bad. We don't even have a single picture together. Like, it's crazy. So we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. We're going to be doing business planning and strategy session. We're going to, we're going to make sure we're honed in on our avatar and stuff for the future. We're going to do a photo shoot, thus the new do for both of us.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and happy hour on Thursday. Happy hour, we're going to actually be side by side doing happy hour on Thursday. How crazy is that?
Which is so cool and so awesome. And so also, we've got something cool coming up on Friday. If you are in the San Diego area, if you're in Southern California, I would say, we would love to welcome you to come to an actual real happy hour with us. On Friday evening, we're going to be at Ignite Bistro in Carlsbad, so you can Google it. Tracy, I don't know if we have the meetup link yet. We've been like crazy running around, busy, but we are going to be having a meetup at Ignite Bistro. We're going to be there at about 3:30 p.m. to start happy hour. We'll be there from 3:30 to 6. So if you want to come hang out with us, and if the volume, but this is not guaranteed, but if the volume permits, we're going to record one of the podcasts there, so you can get in and say hi to the Happy Hour crew, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we are so excited, and really we're going to actually have an announcement on the podcast. Like, there's been so much, guys, if Don and I can build this, anybody can, because we just continually have, if you knew the roadblocks that keep getting thrown up in front of Don and I, we call it interference. If you knew the interference that happens daily, it's ridiculous. Like, even like 2 minutes before we went live, I was like, and Don, it's all good, like, chill out. And sure enough, like, happy hour, it's like my tranquilizer. I'm like, I'm good now.
Yeah, it's so nice. So yeah, we've had a lot of interference. So if you guys are thinking like, I couldn't do that, just think, back in April, neither could Tracy and I. We had, like, both of us had these kind of like big aspirations, but we hadn't quite put it together. We hadn't quite figured out our avatar. We hadn't quite figured out what the value was we wanted to bring. Tracy's been an amazing social media trainer for a long time. I've been teaching blocking and search engine optimization, and so we took those skill sets and kind of married them together. Once again, power of the mastermind. Power of the mastermind.
Big deal. And you guys, we launched this business with Dawn being displaced for 3.5 weeks because of the fires in San Diego. I was at the lowest points, sickness-wise, of my life. Like, there'd be times where I literally, right before we would go live, would be laying on my bathroom floor, and then we would go live. And, so if we can do it, you can do it. And so we are so excited for those of you that live in Southern California that you can actually come and hang out with us live. So we'll have, just follow our stuff. If you haven't followed our fan page, Social Media Marketing Happy Hour, over on Facebook, social media, actually, Happy Hour Hangouts is our webpage. Like, just go find us. Like, I promise you, we're going to have the information out soon, really soon. I have a couple questions, but before we'll give everybody else some time to get a little bit more questions, or time to ask a few more things of our amazing guest. Let's hear, Dawn, I know, why don't you set it up, Dawn, because you're the one who told me about it today. I know Nancy blew your mind when you found out, but let's talk about this little secret sauce, special trick up Nancy's sleeve.
Okay, yeah, let me just tell you, like, the premise, or set it up so that you guys understand how crazy this is. So we've been hanging out, and we'll be sitting side by side somewhere, and I'll get a notification on my phone. Nancy McAllister posted something really awesome, and I'm like, we're having a conversation. How did you manage that? And it's not posted by Hootsuite half the time. And I'm like, how did you do that? Did you just do that? And she's like, yeah, I just did it. What are you talking about? And I'm like, how are you finding content that is so incredible to post any time of the day while you're sitting here having a conversation with me, not even really thinking about it? So how do you do it? Because when she told me, I was like, my mind was blown. And it's so freaking simple. So simple. I was really stoked that I knew something that they didn't know for once, that I could help get some value for these guys. So I don't even know if I just figured this out or if I got this somewhere. To be honest, I have no idea. So obviously a lot of you guys are using, like us, automated, you're trying to automate stuff, so using Hootsuite. I mean, I used to use Post Planner, but Hootsuite's got so much more versatility. And so I
usually sit down once a week to do like my 2 weeks of posts. And Dawn was like, how long does that take you? I'm like, oh, about an hour. And she's like, an hour? Like, how does that take you an hour? So I have all my content ready for me. She's like, how do you have that? So how many of you guys are sitting on Facebook and you're at the grocery store and you see a post and you're like, oh, that's awesome, I can use that later. And you're like, oh, and then later you can't even remember who posted it, where it was, or you see something and you're like, oh, that's a great idea. I'd like to do something for my team. I'll spin off of that, and again, you're busy, you're running around, and then later you're like, oh, where was that post? So you forget about it entirely.
Guys, if that's happened to you, post it in the comments. We want to
have to post it. Let me do it right here. Like I myself, and then now I tweet so much that I can't even find my own tweets. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's like, because there's so much information, we're bombarded, we see so much great stuff and content. So here's what you want to do, okay? It's not complicated. You're going to create a group on Facebook. And to create a group, you have to have more than one person, so you have to have at least 2 people. So it can be you, it can be your partner, it can be your spouse, whatever. Anytime you see one of these posts that you like, you're at the grocery store and you line up, you're like, oh, that's awesome. Share it in your group that you've created. I call mine Hootsuite Planner. That's all it is. And so you get all of these posts that go into this group. It could be a motivation quote. It could be just a quote that you like. It could be an idea that someone else is doing in their business and you're like, oh, that's awesome. I want to try that and do that for my team. Or just something that you just love. I just share it in that and I just keep on dumping them in there. And when it's time for me to go to Hootsuite or whatever system you're using, or whatever you want to draw, find that content to post, I just go into that group. Usually open that group up, and I open up Facebook twice, and I see one, and I do the other at the same time, and I just create my content for the week. And I use themes for my week, so I usually have Motivation Monday and Transformation Tuesday and Wellness Wednesdays and Freedom Friday. So whatever that is for you. I like having that consistency again in terms of posts, Foodie Thursdays, it can be anything, whatever you're passionate about, right? And so and I have other people, my husband does the same thing in the group, and I have my assistant do the same thing in the group, so you can create that group however you want to create it. Put them in there.
Dude, like Dawn and I are going to have this group set up, like, so fast. Like, I'm telling you, that is just, oh my gosh, because I mean, that's kind of my role for happy hour is content strategy, and that can take me forever sometimes. So seriously, Nancy, I have a girl crush. I know Tamira always says she has like a major marketing girl crush on me.
Yeah. So hug, and we're doing it properly.
Hashtag girl crush right here. So,
guys, if your mind was just like blown, because that is going to make your life so much easier. Didn't I tell you it was a millionaire tip? You're on the email list. You found out that there was a millionaire tip coming out, and wasn't that like Tracy? So easy. I'm going to be sharing into our group that Tracy's probably setting up right now. I'll be able to share everything I see. That's cool.
It's just, you guys, we talk about this constantly. Know, like, trust, and remember. It's episode number 8 in our podcast. Know, like, trust, remember. It's like the most critical thing in the whole wide world. Social media is the only platform that you can use unless you're going to, like, literally show up on someone's doorstep every day. Social media is the only platform that helps you get remembered. And if you can't consistently post because you're like, well, what do I post today? Like, right? Like, it doesn't do you any good. You can build this huge audience, and then you got nothing to say. This seriously, like, really, it is $1 million post. Like, Nancy, you have no idea how you made my life easier. I'm so excited about that.
Thanks. And you just really want to, there's people that have great content, great value. You just want to make sure you're following them, and then use the etiquette, that we all know, like a comment on theirs, and obviously acknowledge them for their great ideas. If you're not sure whether you should be sharing it, ask them if you can share it. Like, you're still using all the same etiquette you would use if someone was on stage and said something that you really loved and you wanted to share it. But our business is about duplication. So, I'm always like, I see my post shared, and I'm like, yay, I'm proud, right? So, I really do hope that helps you guys. I think it's awesome. And I even use it if I have an idea, there's some content that I want to do, and then I'll just post it in my own little group, right? So, it's all in one spot.
So smart. In fact, Cindy is in her group as we speak. Beryl said, I'm picturing you telling me social media tip ever. OMG, this is so brilliant. Everybody is really, really stoked about this. So Norma writes, that method is so much better than using Jing. She often can't find where she jinged it. So that is
I don't even know what that means. So
so great. That is so great. If you guys love that. Now, we definitely want to take a couple minutes here because we're way over time, but I think it's worth it. The feedback in the chat today has been fantastic. So I know we had a couple questions. If you guys have any questions for Nancy, go ahead and add them in the chat here real quick. But the first question, before I dive into that, are we okay to go to questions, or did you have something else, Dawn or Nancy?
I'm good. I'm all yours.
Yeah, let's go to questions.
Let's ask a question because I want to start making
have a training call at 4.
I do have a training call at 4.
And then I'm taking her to real happy hour. Right?
Yes.
And then I'm taking her to real happy hour, and I'm going to bring out some more awesome social media tips. So I'm going to come back on Thursday with Tracy live.
Oh my God, live. Killer. Oh my gosh. You know what, Dawn? We are going to be so criticized for being giggly schoolgirls because we're going to actually be together. So I just want to prepare you guys, deal with it.
I dare you to come to happy hour Friday night and tell me that.
I might be little, but I'm scrappy. Actually, that's not true. I'm just sort of full of love. I'm a big bush ball. So anyway, let's go over to the questions. So the first question that I had, I lost it already, but I know, let's see, it was Burl. She was asking, how do you coach somebody through an unsupportive spouse?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say the best thing that you can do is be that bright light, that positive person, and be successful. Because you know what? There's nothing like success to, I don't want to say shut up, but to just, to squash a skeptic, and I know a lot of, that can definitely happen in our business where, we're surrounded by positive energy and people that are excited and want to live life to the fullest and see this opportunity are like, oh my gosh, this is it. And sometimes they have never even gone to an event, so it's really hard, to be able to relay that and for them to have that excitement. And I would say, just, do your thing, be positive, and be successful because there's nothing like success to change their minds.
That is for darn sure. John and I have a saying that we don't say on air because I don't cuss, and it's not cussing, but something like #take that. I'll just leave it at that.
Tracy.
We're good influences on each other, Dawn. That is for sure. All right, and then we had another question. It was similar, and I think you answered it. And it was Norma that was asking. Forget one a negative spouse. What if you've got 4 negative family members? And I think and you talked about it a little bit, Nancy. But when you say to somebody, "Go be successful," do you have any tips to shut out that noise? Because when you have more than one, it's hard enough with one person, but when you have multiple people in your ear doubting you, that can be tough. So any other advice for that?
And know that you're not alone. I mean, I have my in-laws are fantastic. Some of my biggest builders, my biggest consumers, and personally my own family. They're not all using what we have to offer, and some don't believe in it at all, and they use certain terms that I don't even want to talk about. So know that you're not alone, first of all. And then the other thing is know that, if you want to be successful, you have to surround yourself with successful people. And you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so, unfortunately, if that's your family or your close friends, and if they're negative and skeptical and they're not excited about, creating this amazing life, then you know what, you're going to have to distance yourself. And you're going to want to, you can't necessarily distance yourself with family, but some of them you just might have to say, just be so clear on where you're going and your vision that, they can't squash it. But more importantly, surround yourself with people that have the belief that you do, that support you, that believe in you. And so that, and you're probably going to have to do that more and more often than maybe some other people hangouts, call somebody so that you can keep that energy up, and don't let negative people and people that have no dreams squash your dreams. Because, that can happen, and you don't want that happening to you.
And I think that advice, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. For some of you, Don and I are 2 of your 5. We're in your earbuds every single morning. You're with us Tuesdays and Thursdays. You're in our mastermind, right? You're there, and you have to do whatever you have to do. In fact, it was episode 13 where we talked about haters. Don shared a story of a good friend that unfriends her, still to this day, right, Don?
Completely unfriends me. We're friends right now, but next week.
We have family that unfriends us. Really? Just know you're not alone, right?
Yeah, not alone. So definitely, one of the things that I've done for a long time is having, virtual mentors, books, audios. I'm a huge podcast junkie. That's why we started a podcast, because I'm a podcast junkie. So I was like, let's do a podcast. So Nancy, I love that. So do we have any other questions? You guys have been great. Everyone has just absolutely loved this. And I'm so grateful for those of you that were here live, because this is an incredible opportunity. If you're catching the replay, still a great opportunity too. But if you have a burning question, you can always send it to Don and I at info@happyhourhangouts.com, and either we'll answer it or we'll get it to Nancy. So I'm already we're getting tweets. We're getting tweets from Meryl, and we're getting all of us are getting tagged in it. #take that. Yeah. Don, any last questions for Nancy?
I don't have any last questions, but I love you and appreciate you so much for getting on here.
Oh, girl.
Oh.
Yeah,
I can't wait to meet you, Tracy, too.
I have to tell you guys a story, because Nancy is a really good example of, in this industry, you can be in multiple companies. I've been in multiple companies, and this girl has been with me through thick and thin. We've been friends no matter what. It transcends business, and until you can have that kind of abundance mentality, I think that hurts people. You have to understand that the relationships you're building now, if it's your first company, if it's your 5th company, you don't burn bridges. You don't hurt people just because they've switched companies. And that happens, man. This happens in that industry. And just picture if you were leaving a job. Okay, I think of this. If you were leaving a job, would you want people to come to your retirement party or your leaving party and slap you in the face? Or would you want them to come and wish you well on your journey? Well, this woman has watched me go through thick and thin, has always wished me well on my journey. And so I think that's a big abundance mentality kind of thing. We can support each other across companies.
It is amazing. And I want to point out to you guys that the happy hour, social media marketing happy hour, is for everybody. It's for all companies. It's for all people. It's for newbies. It's for pros. And we honor this industry. We honor those of you that are plugging in because you have a desire to be the next Nancy in your company. We love that. And we want to encourage you. If you've got team members, we want you to know, be safe. You can send them here and it's safe. We never even told you what company Nancy's with, because we just wanted to highlight her as a leader. Nancy, I just want to thank you for honoring our audience as well, because this is a place of people that are committed to this incredible industry. I've been doing a series on my fan page, not the happy hour, but mine, just talking about how as entrepreneurs, we have the power to be world changers. And Nancy, you're a world changer. And there's going to be so many people's lives who are rocked and awesome because of your decision 7 years ago. And so I just want to honor you from the bottom of my heart for taking time. And I know you and Don could have been playing, you could have been playing, but Don's butt would have been in that chair. But I just want to honor you for taking that time to share your wisdom for others who are up and coming future millionaires in this amazing industry. And so I just thank you from our whole audience for being here today.
Well, thank you, both of you, Tracy and Don, for having me. It's been such a pleasure, and thank you to everyone for all your comments. So I really appreciate it. Don't trust the chatter in your own head. Happy hour hangouts.
Yeah, I love it. All right, guys. So make sure, if you haven't yet given us a rating and a review and subscribed on iTunes, seriously, just since we started, this is so blowing my mind. We are. Oh, I have a special guest we wrap up, let me see here. Oh, I got